Welcome to the Free to Suffer podcast with Martin and Ricardo. Ever wonder why we're compelled to avoid suffering?
In this podcast, we'll address the stigma of negative feelings and try to help everyone improve their well-being by learning to accept suffering and to get good at feeling.
We are Martin and Ricardo, two longtime friends, both interested in topics related to mental health and positive psychology. Ricardo is a retired mental health counselor, student of Rupert Spira and other teachers of awareness, and nonviolent man of action.
Martin is a lifelong martial artist, former cancer health researcher, dedicated to education and helping people to be their best.
We're always looking for interesting topics for our episodes, so if you have a topic you'd like to suggest, we invite you to send it to us or post it to our comments.
We're glad to have you with us and hope you find some use and meaning in this episode. While doing this is really exciting and fun, it's also terrifying. Because you know there's pressure to quote do it right. You know?
Yeah. I think neither one of us has had any podcast experience before this. Yeah, and I had this idea. Maybe it was like 10 years ago, around 10 years ago. I was talking to people that I'm thinking of starting a podcast. But I didn't pull the trigger because I think there was just other things that were just in the way, and I think the biggest part of it was like the fear of also starting a new podcast. Like, how much time is it going to take? Am I going to have anything interesting to talk about with people? And other people, I was seeing that other people would join me for the podcast. They would be happy to join me, but it was really up to me to try to create something. So I was actually thrilled when you texted me after I'd kind of thought about the podcast, and I thought it would be super fun to do this. But do I really have the time for it? I've got a lot of other things that I'm trying to do in my life.
Yes.
And and so when we talked a little bit about the prospects of a first episode, we came up with this idea of having the topic be the states of mind, and how our perception affects our experience.
Yes, and the reason, Martin, in my mind that came up is because so few people I meet seem to have an awareness or understanding of our states of mind, and how our states of mind affect our perspective and our perception and our experience. and it seemed really important to me that could be a really useful, good place to start, is by bringing the awareness of states of mind.
And this. So we were thinking how about this podcast and how starting a podcast could be related to that, and how just the perception of what would it would be to start a new podcast. How would that affect us? I mean, the fear of starting something new, being stuck on something. I think that there's or maybe like something that maybe even people might be facing chronically, like over longer periods of time. It might not be just pulling the trigger on something. It might be like something like a habit, maybe, that sometimes people get into, where they're just kind of stuck in this rut or this loop and they just can't get out. So I think from that perspective, I think this might be a useful podcast for some some of our listeners, you know.
Yeah, and one thing I want to distinguish is getting scared, which is natural. I mean, you and I would not be doing this if, in addition to being scared about it not going well, we weren't hopeful that it would go well. Okay, so being scared by itself isn't a state of mind per se. We can, and what I want to say about that is we can, in a healthy, secure state of mind, fear isn't a problem. It's a natural thing. When we get into an unhealthy or insecure state of mind, full of pessimism, full of distorting everything to the negative, you know, that state of mind basically is not just fear. It's being stuck in we could call it like in a bad mood, in a horrible bad mood where everything looks terrible. Now, again, the main thing that one of the reasons I thought this was a good place to start is because I don't think people, if you don't notice you're in a really bad mood, all of the negative, catastrophic, pessimistic thinking, it feels very real to you. I mean, just like our dreams feel real to us. But if we know it's just a dream, we respond to it very differently, and we don't know that we're dreaming till we wake up and go, "Oh, it was just a dream." Mm-hmm. We don't know we're in a necessarily, when people that haven't had these conversations don't know they're just in a bad mood. It's just a dream, and everything looks terrible from that perspective. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know it's just a dream, a nightmare, to put it that way, you tend to get stuck in it for days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months at a time, versus if you know this is a bad mood, this is a state of mind, it's just a dream, it may take still hours or maybe even a day or two to shift back into our natural, healthy, secure state of mind, because we're no longer perpetuating it as reality.
It's, you know, there's moments I think that I've had in my life that I think we've talked about previously, where I was doing a long project at school. It was a graduate school, and I was constantly, I'm a researcher and scientist by training, and the whole idea behind science is that you disprove things over and over and over again to try to eliminate the things that it can't be in order to prove or to try to support your hypothesis. And you know, sometimes this can take a huge amount of time. I mean, for me, for my graduate thesis project, it did, and it was just so frustrating to see like one thing fail, and these were very technical things that I was doing. So sometimes I was also messing up, like it was human error that I was introducing into it, and I was just if an experiment failed, I would sometimes take it personally, and it was just something that I was like, oh, you know, I messed up again, or and sometimes even if I didn't mess up, I'm still getting negative data. I'm still getting things that I'm not expecting would show up, and so these are things that I'm, you know, it was just very frustrating. When I came back to the bench, it almost felt like this Groundhog Day, where I'm just, you know, the you know, Bill Murray movie, the famous Bill Murray movie, where he's just waking up every day and he's reliving the same day over and over and over again. And for me, it ended up being that I had to take a step back, and I had to be compassionate with myself, and really tell myself it's okay. You know, I'm doing the best I can. I'm just gonna. I started setting my goals to be smaller goals, so that I could feel a sense of achievement, so that even if something failed, I was like, well, at least you did this experiment without, without mixing up reagents or something like that, or without, something going wrong, that I would blame myself for, maybe I would just set up a checklist. And so I started to think a little more creatively about the problem that I had at hand, and eventually, I graduated with my thesis.
Well, you just gave a beautiful example of the two states of mind, and the one state of mind, the insecure, unhealthy state of mind where you're blaming yourself and you're going down the rabbit hole, the secure and healthy state of mind where you're taking a step back, you're experiencing self-compassion, excuse me, you're thinking along the lines of what I'll call reality, which is it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to screw up. It's okay to get stuck. It's, that this this healthy state of mind is in touch with reality, if I want to say it that way. Mm-hmm. Whereas the unhealthy state of mind or the insecure state of mind is in touch with the nightmare that says it's never going to work out. It's all my fault, and so on. So you just give a beautiful example. I also want to make a point that I've been a mental health counselor, just retired my whole life.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. And I just lost the point that I was going to make. Yes, the adversity and setbacks, because you're talking about the setbacks and the adversity you run into as you're finishing your program. Me losing my point is a setback. So adversity and setback can trigger an insecure state of mind, an unhealthy, insecure state of mind, but it needn't. I recovered from my losing my point quite quickly. It didn't set off an insecure state of mind, even though I'm aware of feeling anxious, but that's not the same. In a secure state of mind, I go, I'm anxious and it's okay.
Yeah.
In an insecure state of mind, I go, I'm anxious and I'm a piece of shit. Excuse my language.
Yeah. We'll see what people that are comment on our podcast say, but that's and exactly having that kind of state of mind that can almost carry you through life. Changing these state of minds and being able to adapt to our state of minds and noticing them. I think you mentioned that there was 3 steps that you wanted to talk about in terms of understanding, accepting, and resolving state of minds. Is that something that we want to kind of go a little deeper into? Or?
Sure, and I'll equate that with, and before I do, I want to say one other thing. This is the point I was going to make earlier. In terms of the mental health field, we tend to focus on illness, and a lot of psychology is focused on this idea of illness and treating illness, whereas there's something called positive psychology, which focuses on and principle-based psychology, which focuses on what they call our innate health and our innate well-being. And I like to point out, just as it's natural in all of nature to be healthy and to have immune systems, and all of nature is designed to be as healthy as possible and to recover health when it gets ill. That said, also to age and eventually die. But the point I'm making is of innate health. That it's just like it's innate for our body to be healthy. The mind isn't separate from the body. It's joined by the neck. It's a conceptual difference. The healthy, secure state of mind is innate. It's our natural state of being. It's why we want to feel Just like when the body is unhealthy, it hurts, it's uncomfortable. When the mind is unhealthy, we suffer. Okay, and none of us wants to suffer, and yet suffering is inevitable both in the body and in the mind. How we meet the suffering becomes a really important, an important process. How we meet our ill, insecure state of mind is either, if I get a cut and I keep rubbing it, I infect it and don't support the healing process. If I understand that, I protect the cut and support the healing process. So knowing about states of mind is a really important first step. Okay, and then responding to the suffering we feel in these horrible, insecure, unhealthy states of mind is going to be really important. If we try to tell ourselves we shouldn't be feeling that way, we're going down the rabbit hole and making ourselves feel worse. If, as you pointed out, Martin, earlier, meeting it with compassion and understanding, oh, it's just my messed up state of mind right now. It's okay. It's just a dream. It's just my nightmare. I don't need to take. There's one rule that I came across in this principle-based psychology about where I learned states of mind. Treat everything you're thinking and feeling with a grain of salt. It's just a nightmare. And by just, I don't mean to minimize. Nightmares are horrible. And they're painful, but if we know it's a nightmare, we don't keep feeding it, and we don't take anything we're thinking at that point seriously. Now I'm not infecting the wound anymore. And so now I'm going to come back into a healthy, secure state of mind as quickly as possible. Some wounds take longer to heal than others. It doesn't mean I'm going to get back into a healthy state of mind right away. Okay.
Yeah, I was actually listening to some reggae today, and while I was working out, and there was a lyric where they used the word daymare as opposed to nightmare.
Yes.
So someone who's walking through their day and experiencing that fear.
Yes. So
that's if we consider things, our thoughts and emotions with a grain of salt, like you said, this is something that can give us a little bit of a distance to check, like, what is it that we're thinking, what is it that we're feeling, and try to relate to that. And also, I think the separation of having that distance from that gives us some how would I put that, almost like a way of being able to act differently and act with maybe more grace towards that thought and that feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ability to recognize when we're ill, both physically and mentally, when we're in a healthy state or in an unhealthy state. Why? Because healthy states are comfortable, unhealthy states are uncomfortable. Our ability to recognize that is part of our innate health. That's why life made lack of health uncomfortable. Rupert Spira, this beautiful teacher that I follow deeply, he said, if hunger were comfortable, we would not go and eat. If illness were comfortable, we wouldn't do what we needed to do to find out what's wrong and heal. And so he also said, pain is to the body what suffering is to the mind. Now, we've been conditioned and socialized, Martin, to try to ignore and repress and suppress and distract from our mental distress, from our mental discomfort. And we do that in all sorts of ways. We turn on the TV, we go eat something, we drink, we call somebody, we pick up our phones, and there's all sorts of ways of distracting. Well, actually, in my experience, I do that with my body too. I kind of tend to ignore and distract from the pain until the pain is so obvious I can't distract anymore, and then I start looking into it maybe I go to the doctor, I start doing the research to heal, to get in touch with the source of the pain and heal it. What we can learn, we've all been socialized to ignore our emotional pain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We can learn.
Well, as men, I mean, as two men giving this podcast, originally I was thinking maybe even calling this Two Men Sitting at a Table podcast.
Yeah.
But we are two people, so
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I think this is universal also.
Yes, because women, while it's more acceptable to be emotional if you're a woman, speaking, and as I'm thinking of this, I'm thinking of my daughter who says, we need to stop thinking about male, female. That's a construct, just like race is. We're all sort of fluid, you know. But the point is, the way we're socialized is you're male, I'm male, she's female. For females, have permission to be more emotional than men, but they don't have permission to be angry, and they have permission to be afraid. Men have more permission to be angry, but not afraid. So our society even socializes us to say, well, if you're a man, anger is okay. If you're a woman, fear is okay. But if you're a woman, anger isn't okay. And if you're a man, fear isn't okay. Well, but overall, basically, we're socialized not to feel our feelings. Okay, and again, so that when adversity, including even doing this, which has nothing to do with adversity, but following a dream, following a hope, which is going to evoke fear, that fear needn't be triggering illness. It's a natural discomfort to doing something that maybe it's not going to go well. You see, in a secure state of mind, it's okay if it doesn't go well. In an insecure state of mind, it better go well or else. You see, and now I'm socialized not to notice that, and now the adversity, the challenge is triggering an insecure state of mind, as opposed to a momentary anxiety or a momentary fear.
Yeah. There's all sorts of. I mean, we could go in a lot of different directions with the podcast and also our discussion today, our talk today. The idea of how different people behave in a workplace, for example, or how people behave in their daily lives. There was a beautiful analogy I thought of before starting this podcast about the bus stop experience. That people are sometimes when you see people at a bus stop, or if you're just standing at a bus stop, a lot of how you're perceiving the world relates to how your day has been, or the thoughts that you're keeping in your mind, the stories maybe that you're telling yourself about your general situation in the world, in your life, or it could be just that so somebody ran a red light and you're distracted and you're kind of thinking about that or whatever. But yeah, some people you can sometimes also just see the burden that they're carrying in their mind while standing at the bus stop, and sometimes they've been keeping that for quite some time. So. So I was thinking, we were discussing a little bit about the usefulness of our discussion today, maybe, and how it might help people. What would you recommend to somebody who's having a bad day that's standing at a bus stop? And
well, what you're bringing to mind is the example, and I don't know what I'd tell the person right away, but I'll come back to that.
And this is this isn't. We're not. Ricardo's retired now, so he's not giving professional advice over the podcast, over the air. But
no, and I can come back to that. But the point I want to make that I think is what I would point to with this person is, imagine, it's a thought experiment. Imagine somebody who is sitting or standing at the bus stop, and the bus is late, and it isn't 5 minutes late, it's 10, 20, 30, and for whatever reason the bus is an hour or an hour and a half late. Now imagine if we had monitors on this person's brain and their heart and so on, what we would see over that hour or hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And what we would see is the transition from very upset states of mind to very calm states of mind, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And the importance of that, and this is what I may be telling this person, this is a temporary state. You know, you don't have to be stuck in this state. There are other states when waiting an hour and a half isn't a problem. You see, but the point of this thought experiment is to see that our states of mind are changing even when nothing in their life is changing. You see, so we don't have to change our life to get back into a good state of mind again. All we have to do really is change our attention. And instead of focusing and being obsessed with, well, God, now the bus is 30 minutes late, I can focus on the beautiful flower that I see across the street there, or the beautiful tree that I'm sitting under, or the people that are walking by and that are so attractive.
Yeah, and that kind of also gets back to this idea of how stress is to the mind as pain is to the body.
Yes.
Where you know, some people sometimes use their smartphones as an analgesic while they're, you know, going through life.
Yes.
Because there is some either distraction from the pain or the stress of their life, and you know, so you know that, or they have like a, you know, maybe they have a snack or something and they'll chew on a snack, and you know, people have talked a little bit about how you know, sugary foods or different types of foods can be very satiating to the body, and can almost have like an analgesic effect.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
But there's a subtle difference that I want to, and an important difference that I want to make about that. If I'm at the bus stop and I'm distressed because it's late and I'm feeling rushed and so on, and I understand that there's nothing I can do except acknowledge and accept my upset. And in this mind, Martin, it used to, when I first discovered this, it showed up as, I get to be as upset as I need to be for as long as I need to be. Stop telling me to quit being upset. So part of the first step into a healthy state of mind is to welcome my upset. Okay? But now I call it keeping myself good company until I feel better, so I'm going to scroll on the phone. But I'm no longer scrolling on the phone to distract from and reject the upset. You see. So the very same action, whether I'm eating some kind of food or I'm scrolling on the phone, could be, if I've accepted my upset instead of fighting it, could be, now I'm just being, I call it keeping myself good company until I feel better, as opposed to I got to stroll because I shouldn't be upset.
Yeah. So having that kind of insight into why you're doing a particular action or activity.
Yes. And we were talking about this earlier, Martin, how we've all been socialized to reject our feelings instead of accept our feelings. And part of the healthy state of mind, the secure state of mind, is to normalize and see how normal and to accept our feelings as normal responses to needs that aren't being met, if I want to say it that way. If I put my hand on the stove, it should hurt. There's an illness where it doesn't hurt, and it's a big problem. So these, our suffering is, again, it's healthy responses to things, and when we know we've been socialized to reject and avoid our feelings, in my experience, Martin, to me, it occurred to me one day, it's like trying to stop thinking and speaking in English. Sorry, that ain't going to happen. Sorry, my rejecting of my feelings isn't going to disappear. But I can learn to accept my feelings. I can learn the language of acceptance.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's learning to understand and to observe my feelings that's helped me is to also be in touch with other people's feelings. I think that they talk about the sensitive guy, that, you know, is an attractive model of attractive traditional romantic model, of how a man should, bear himself, or carry himself in the world. And there's this almost issue that if you're stuck in your own world and your own feelings, and those feelings are kind of carrying you without having a connection with those, it's almost like you're plugged into this, like our podcasting here is plugged into one thing, and you're not getting the other connections in your world. It's almost like that, where there's a limited amount of input that you can take in if you're almost possessed by, like, your feelings or your without awareness, without being able to hear that. Like the way that I can hear you, I can listen to you, I can hear your emotion, the excitement in your voice and things like that. I can tell that because it's almost like I've let go of my feelings, I've let go of my thoughts, and I'm listening to what you have to say and what you're relating to me. So what would you say to people? I know that there's, people sometimes, when they focus on feelings, they sometimes focus on happiness. And you gave me an interesting, different, definition of how you define happiness, or how you think about happiness. Because people, sometimes they're just chasing happiness, and they're trying to chase some kind of pill that will make them happy, or there's some kind of instantaneous gratification that I'm in also the sales and marketing field now, so I try to connect with my audience over what will fulfill their needs, and what will make them happy, in a way. But can you kind of comment a little bit more on that?
It's not just that we don't want to suffer or resist suffering, and that's a healthy, we shouldn't want to suffer, we should resist suffering, but we want to be happy. Hey, now the thing that I want to clarify is that when I talk about we want to be happy, I don't mean we want to be in this sort of giddy, celebratory, like when my favorite team won the game and so on and so forth. That's a moment of exuberance, if you will. But what I mean by happiness is a sense of well-being, a sense of comfort, a sense of ease, a sense of earlier, I think when we were talking, I talked about the absence of seeking and resisting. That we're whole. We're there's nothing missing. Okay, and that's what I mean here by happiness, which reminds me also of why do we want anything? Rupert Spira again. He would say, if I told you getting that thing would make you miserable, would you still want it? He's making a really good point. We want things because they think they're going to make us happy, whether it's relationships or food, whatever. Yeah. And if we knew it would make us unhappy, we wouldn't want it. But then we think the object or the relationship or the situation is what made us happy. Yeah. When we really look, no, it wasn't the object. All objects eventually become boring. Relationships get full of difficulty, So it isn't the object, the situation, or the relationship. It's that when we obtain what we wanted, we stop seeking and resisting momentarily. And in the ceasing of seeking and resisting, it's like being in deep sleep. We're perfectly at ease. We're perfectly comfortable. That natural innate health, that natural innate well-being, which is just accepting of everything, shows. It shines because it's not being hidden by the seeking and resisting. So that to me is a much deeper understanding. Happiness is this sense of fulfillment, the sense of well-being, which ultimately doesn't depend on getting anything or not losing something that we need. It comes
Yeah.
from this innate health, this innate well-being.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you're kind of there's a couple of things that kind of came to mind when you were saying what you just said. The maybe you're defining happiness more like satisfaction.
Yes.
And you know, there's this lyric in famous Rolling Stones song, "I can't get no satisfaction."
Absolutely.
Right. And so maybe going and identifying that you can't get no satisfaction, like
Yes.
through his singing,
Yes.
he was getting satisfaction because he's gotten to that point where he's no longer so obsessed with the satisfaction, but he's getting it out. He's communicating it. He's getting that, and so maybe communicating that with yourself is like a very important step.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The absence of the lack of satisfaction again is a sense of lack, and I'm needing something I don't have, and I don't like what I have, and I'm needing something I don't have.
Yeah.
And satisfaction is the absence of that I'm not needing anything I don't have.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah. And so once you get to the point of having an absence of this resistance or seeking, you know, the skeptic or maybe not skeptic, but maybe a critic would say, well, if you're not seeking happiness, then like how are you going to get motivated? You know?
Yes. And to that critic, I would say, once I'm not seeking happiness, because I know happiness is part of my innate well-being, now I seek to find ways of sharing, expressing, and celebrating that innate happiness with the world.
Mm-hmm.
Rupert Spira beautifully said it this way: when we understand our true nature, this innate health, we stop using the world for our happiness, and we start serving the world with our happiness. And I can't tell you how much more happy that is, to serve the world with my happiness instead of seeing how I can use you to make me happy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
rather than how I can serve you because I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of terms that tend to be kind of thrown around, like abundance and, you know, lack of abundance or things like that. But I think that that's kind of maybe the awkward way that people have construed or tried to address this kind of idea of like why somebody is acting in one way and not another way. I think ultimately, though, I think it just kind of has to do with this kind of sometimes there's things that are difficult to communicate, and when someone says, well, I'm living out of a lack of abundance, or I'm, you know, that could just mean that they themselves have gotten to the point where they're no longer seeking or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe instead they talk about they're kind of in a place where they're at they could be like have reached a certain level of understanding, but then they're kind of like, okay, well, where can I go next, right? There's sometimes this struggle to really understand, well, now that you've gotten to that place, what's next? Like how where can I go from here? And one direction, as you said, is sharing, having that you know, way of either helping someone else or educating someone, or finding some needs that other people have that you can jump into and you can help with, and not just through like a transactional kind of way of doing things, but instead from like almost like a heartfelt way of bettering either them or your community. So it's no longer just about you.
Yes. Well, and I think you're pointing to this innate connection we have with everything. This desire to share, this desire to give, this desire to connect with it, that is no longer out of moral obligation, but that because we're literally connected to all of life. We are nature. The mind somehow thinks I'm not nature and I'm separate. No, we are nature, and like the mycelium that we now learn about, and that everything is interconnected with everything. That's just, again, part of our innate health, is this innate interconnection. Mm-hmm. So once we are abundantly happy without needing anything, it's our innate, this interconnection that wants to express it, celebrate it, and share it in whatever form. At the extreme, I think of other people like monks that sit in a cave but share the sense of connection. But then there's others that are, we never know, there's 8 billion or more individuals. What form is that sharing, expressing, and celebrating going to take is going to be unique to each individual.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, there's a lot of people on this planet that and they're all kind of they have their feelings and their thoughts, and their acting and their behavior maybe being affected by their feelings and thoughts. Their health could be affected. So it'd be nice to. I think for upcoming podcast episodes, to look at maybe some of the health effects, and maybe also, there's a lot of stressful things that I think people perceive on the television. We're in the middle of an election year this year, so people are getting maybe a little bit more engaged in what they're seeing and perhaps thinking or worrying about outcomes of elections, and so that's another thing that we could potentially talk about.
Totally.
In upcoming episodes.
Yeah, totally.
There's a lot of things on the news. Obviously a couple of wars that are waging right now. Yeah. Some wars that we may not even know about, or are not really breaking the headlines. Right. But I think that this is a good starting episode, and just to get people familiar with the way to connect with their feelings and thoughts.
Yes. And a good wrapping up place for today is the feeling.
Yeah.
And yet also I want to make one last point in terms of given what you said, because yes, we're living in very critical times with climate crisis and with these wars and with the political wars that are happening in our own country. And I mean, times are very, very, very challenging. In a secure state of mind, I can look at that and feel the distress that I feel from it and go, it's okay. My distress is okay. It's a healthy response. Mm-hmm. I'm okay. It's okay. I hate that it's that way, but that's the way it is. That's okay. And it's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Okay? In an insecure state of mind, I look at it and go, no, it's not okay. It shouldn't be this way. Why does it have to be this way? Yeah. I'm not okay. I shouldn't feel this way. So that's a beautiful, I love that you point that out. And yes, we can come back, because in a secure state of mind, we can meet these critical issues in loving, healthy, powerful ways, versus when we're in insecure states of mind where we just need to get healthy. The last thing I'll say is never make a decision when you're in an insecure state of mind, except to wait until you're in a better state of mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, one thing that I might add to that is that when you're in this insecure state of mind, sometimes you can be a lot slower and a lot less effective at making decisions.
Yes.
It's like what coaches teach their athletes, where you train, and then when you come out there, you play the game. And when you're playing the game, you're in the flow. You can make decisions in a split second without your mind trying to reflect or worry about certain things. It's like you're just there. So thank you for just being there today with me for this first podcast.
Thank you for just being there, and also for being willing to and able, because that was one of my barriers, the technology piece of it, the internet piece of it. So thank you for being willing to do this and for having the willingness and the ability to take care of that.
My pleasure.
Yeah.